Hey everyone, thanks for watching here on the CB vlog. Thanks so much for viewing. You guys know how you can help us out. You can just hit subscribe. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers right now on the channel. It'd be so great if we could hit that at some point soon. Major celebration, let me tell you. Leave a comment's great. Also, of course, sharing and stuff. And also, if you want to help out directly, patreon.com/commandersbrew is where you can donate directly to the show, help us make the show in more ways than one. You can get in on our Discord channel and help us actually brew the decks. So check us out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, we're going to start talking about our big topic here today on the CB vlog, which is the companions, and specifically the companions in Commander. These are a major topic of discussion over the past few weeks. All over the internet. People are talking about, you know, are they overhyped? Are they underhyped? Are they broken? Should they be banned in various formats? We're talking about, apparently there's talk about, well, not from anyone, I don't think from serious, like from the actual rules people, but like people are saying that maybe they should be banned in Commander. Like the companion ability should be banned. Which is, I mean, sorry, I said Commander. I meant Limited. People are talking about them banning the companion ability in Limited, which is wild. Not going to happen.
That's wild.
No, it's wild.
It's dominating Vintage. It's dominating Modern. It turns out just having an extra card in your hand to start the game is usually enough. I'll admit, we don't dig into the CEDH group too often. Like, we don't brew that game. We don't play those games. It's not our style. So I don't know how bad this is getting in that world if people are there. But there's definitely, these are powerful cards, and they didn't seem to be so powerful at first glance.
Right. And going forward, just in this video, we're going to be talking, and sorry, on this show, on the audio show, we're doing both right now simultaneously. We're going to be talking about them in the context of like our meta and the sort of casual commander that we're all used to. I think that the majority of Commander players are used to. So we're not talking about CEDH. That's obviously like a different cup of tea there. But yeah, when we first saw these things, we were like, and you know what's funny? Because like we're kind of spoiled by already having a card that's always in our hand. Like we get our Commander, right? Like we're not like the other formats. We get this card. We know what it's like. We're like, yeah, it's great, but like, you know, I got my Commander. I can recast as many times as I want. So when I remember seeing Companion, I was like, oh, that's good. That's nice. You know, it's like
cute card.
Cute. You know, we get a little guy there, and we cast him, and we get a little effect, and then like, oh, if someone kills him, it's like, okay, then he is permanently gone. You know, there's no command zone shenanigans going on there. But yeah, like you said, it turns out these things have major effects on those competitive formats. But are they going to have the same impact on our casual format, our multiplayer format?
I don't know.
That the jury's still out on that, right? We've only had these cards for a few weeks, or actually, we don't even have them yet, technically, right?
I know, with the way the release happens in person, especially right now with everything that's going on in the world, everyone's staying inside. Yeah, I don't know the next time I'm going to open a real Magic pack is.
Yeah, that's true.
But I've been playing with these cards on Arena for a while.
Yeah, I've been playing with them limited, and like, you know, they're obviously very good, very powerful. It remains to be seen how they're going to impact multiplayer Commander. I would imagine it's not going to be nearly as big as an impact. These are good cards that are great, but like in Commander, we have such a wide berth when it comes to broken stuff we can do. But because of the singleton nature, you see it once in a while, but you don't see it all the time. This is a little bit more than that. But is it as broken because it's multiplayer? I don't think so. I think that's the great leveler there. Not to say that some of these cards are overpowered or not overpowered, but I think that overall we're going to see it's going to be kind of okay. But before we kind of decide that, I wanted to take a quick rundown of all 10, really only 8, because 2 of them are unplayable in Commander, and I don't mean that by how bad they are. They are literally unplayable because of rule stuff. So let's start from. I kind of did a little light ranking of what I think are the most viable, and what I mean is that like how easy are these to like build, not Commander decks around, because but still kind of build Commander decks around, right? We still have to meet the deck building requirements if we want to run these cards as companions. I just want to go on record and say, like, obviously other than Loot Tree, because it's banned altogether in Commander, All of these cards are excellent commanders.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have to meet that deck building requirement. So we actually get this like fun side thing where, if you just want to run these as a commander, you can, and they're quite good. But let's talk about them as specifically companions. So, like I said, got a bit of a rundown here of what I think are the most viable as far as the deck building requirements. So, starting us off here, I think that like the top 2/3 of these are all kind of around the same. So
Okay.
and I'll explain why maybe. First off, I have Zerda, the Dawnwaker. It's the Boros one. Boros. The 3/3 Elemental Fox. This is the one that each permanent card in your starting deck has to have an activated ability. And then activated abilities cost 2 less, and you can make something not block. The reason I think Zerda is the most, or at least tied for like the easiest to kind of include as a companion to your commander, is that you're gonna put this in a deck that has a bunch of equipment, I think, and then you're just gonna be able to find creatures that have activated abilities, which isn't that hard. I'm not saying that this means it's the best. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean it's the best and most powerful companion. It just means that it is. I think it's pretty easy to put this deck together, and sort of you're giving up less than some of the other ones.
Yeah, like and a reminder, only the permanent cards have to meet that specification, right?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
instants, I don't think can have activated abilities on them. So there might be one or two out there. I'm sure there is, but generally that doesn't work that
Cycling
way.
counts, yeah.
Well, yeah, cycling counts though. Like so, like if you have a permanent with cycling, even though it will live on the battlefield without an activated ability, you can't use it on the battlefield. It has one. You're just not in
Yeah.
this zone. So that counts. You're allowed to do those.
And think of how many decks there are that already exist where it's some sort of equipment deck or something, and there only are like a handful of creatures in it anyways,
Sure.
So like this is, I think, again, not the best, but I think it's going to be pretty easy. Now the next one we have here is also, I think, as far as deck building restrictions, pretty easy to make work.
Oh, can I also do want to just clarify, just in case, because I didn't realize this at the beginning also. Your commander also has to fit the requirements.
Yes. Yes,
Your
for sure.
commander does count as part of your starting deck,
Yes.
even though your commander, like, in my mind, your commander lived on the side.
Me
So,
too,
like,
yeah.
part of my brain was like, oh, your commander doesn't have to be the thing. It's like, that's not true. Your commander does. So, Zerda has to go with a commander that has Boros at least. It can go in a Jeskai deck. Zerda can go in a Naya deck, but can't go in like a Gruul deck.
Right. Good call. Very important for this next one because this makes, you got to jump through maybe a hoop or two to do Gigantha, the Wellspring. It's the 4 and a Gruul, the 5/5 that taps for Wooburg, and the companion thing is that no card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its mana cost. So you can't double up 2 blue cannot be a thing that's in your deck. Otherwise, you're free to put whatever you want in there. So it just can only be single of any specific mana type. So I think that's not that hard to do. I think that's pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, you lose a couple of staples you might otherwise
Sure.
want to use.
Yes.
But here's why I think here's what maybe we didn't realize at first. We have access to so many cards. Like if you're like, oh, I love this card that's like Eternal Witness is amazing. It's like, can't run it. It's got 2 green pips. Well, guess what? How about Skullwinder? That works. How about Den Protector? That works. Like there's
Regrowth.
lots of other Regrowth. There's lots of other cards that do very similar things that you can get through.
And I think Gigantha may well be one of the best ones, just because it's like it's insane mana ramp. If you just you compare that you combine this with a lot of card draw, you're going to be laughing. And same thing though, your commander must be a 5-color commander. It can be something like one of the ones that has like the 5-color activated, kind of like Gigantha itself, like where it has 5 colors in its activated ability. It doesn't necessarily all have to be in the mana cost, right? So you can run those as long as they don't have the 2 things as well. So
like I bet you if you have a new 5-color Niv Mizzet deck, you probably are already able to run this.
Yeah,
A lot of those decks don't have double pip things because
Exactly.
they want all sorts of multicolor things.
that's right. So again, these were the 2 Oh no, this I have a third one here, Sean. You want to just read this one quickly?
Sure. Kahira the Orphan Guard. It's the Selesnya one, and then 2 Selesnya mana, so either green or white. 3/2. The restriction for this one, so it's a legendary cat beast, and the restriction is that every creature in your deck has to be a cat, an elemental, a nightmare, a dinosaur, or a beast. It
Yeah.
has Vigilance as a 3/2, and each other creature you control that's one of those, aka every creature. I should say it's possible to have some creatures that don't fit because of tokens, right? Like your token, if anything makes a token outside of that, it won't get it. But it gives all of those natural creature types +1/+1 and Vigilance.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty good.
yeah, and I figure like look at most tribal decks, right? Like they have probably like 90% of their creatures are already of whatever tribe they've chosen, and then there's going to be some outliers that affect this. You know, there's a lot of humans that affect zombies and so on. But so it's not that hard to lose a couple of those things when you can especially have this amazing combination of four. You can be like a 4-thing tribal deck, like cats and dinosaurs. That's kind of cool, right? So you can team up in any number of ways here that makes sense to you. Again, I'm not saying Kahir is the best. I'm just saying that you really don't have to make that many concessions if you're building, because you're definitely going to build a tribal deck here, and then you can still include any number of other like non-creature cards. So Kahira is super easy as long as you just stick to the 4 creature types.
Yeah.
What do you think about Karuga? It's the hippo.
Karuga is a tough one. Karuga the Macro Sage, Simic, 3 Simic, so 5 CMC total. Legendary Dinosaur Hippo, 5/4. And the restriction for Karuga is that everything has to cost 3 or more CMC, except for your lands. And when you cast Karuga, when Karuga enters the battlefield, I should say when it enters the battlefield, because if you can blink him, that's going to be great too.
Enters the battlefield, yeah.
You get to draw. You draw a card for each other permanent you control with CMC 3 or greater. Since that's all your permanents except lands, it's going to be all those permanents unless you've somehow stolen one that's less.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's easy to do in the sense that like just pick things that are 3 or bigger. Like all the best stuff's 3 anyway, right? Like you know, like you're on a 3s. But I feel like if you're gonna completely cut out all 2s and 1s, like we're just in a world where
Ring, right?
you gotta have some ramp that's cheap, right?
There goes all your signets. There goes
Oof. Every possible ramp spell before turn 3.
Yeah.
If you don't naturally play a land as your 3rd land, you don't get to ramp, right? I don't mind having a 2-land hand with a signet as my opener, but are you gonna keep a 2-land Karuga hand without, like, you just hope you get your 3rd land in time? I mean, you might, but you might not.
This is tough. So I think the only reason I didn't put this below the one that cares about you can only include odd stuff, like I think Obosh is that one, or is that guy?
Yes.
I can't remember. I think it's
Obosh is odd.
The only reason I put this one above is because I think there's probably a lot of commander decks where people don't have anything under 3 mana anyways. Like I think especially a lot of new players. I know myself when I first started, I was just like, wow, look at all these big spells. So Karug is definitely that player's type. But you do sacrifice a fair amount here. And it's possible that actually this is tougher to do than something like Garuda.
I mean, this is why Boros decks are so hard, because like by the time you're like, okay, I've got my 5th mana out, I didn't really do a lot of ramping or drawing, I'm ready to start playing my main game things, and you look up across the table and it's like, this guy's got 9 mana, he's drawn a few cards a turn, this person's doing like so much. I'm like, what happened? Like, and that's what's going to happen to the Karuga player. Everyone else is going to be advancing their board, ramping out, and by the time you get your 3rd land and play your Chromatic Lantern, everyone else has 5 lands. And
the only thing I'll say is that like at some point the ramp slows down for other people, and Karuga, like there's a ton of 3 mana rocks, 3 mana rocks,
that's
right?
True.
A ton of
that's
them.
true. Yeah,
and some very good ones, right? So if you can keep that 3 mana hand with a mana rock, okay. I mean that's a lot of cards in your opening hand. I get it, but yeah, like I said, like there's a lot of games that just begin this way anyways. So it feels like Karuga, if you can sort of dodge one of those really aggressive decks or something, like you can get back in with that draw ability. So yeah, Karuga is an interesting one. Next we have the 2 that are the ones that care about even and odd spells in your deck. So Garuda Doom of the Depths is the 6/6 Dimir one, so 4 and 2 Dimir. It's the one that says you can only have even CMC in your deck, and when it comes, each person mills 3, and you get 1 even CMC creature to your battlefield. And then Obosh is the Rakdos one, so 3 Rakdos, so 5 total for the 3/5. You can only have odd cards, and except for lands, right? It says and land cards, because 0 is an even number. And this one doubles the damage of things that are odd. So I think.
Did you read what Garuda did?
I just said what it did. You get to mill and you get the creature card.
Oh, okay. I zoned out.
I'm sort of paraphrasing these because I don't want to. I don't want this to just us be reading cards. But anyways, so I think that these are both like, look, it's not hard to put this deck together, right? It's not like something like, I mean, spoiler alert, Luris, where you can only play 2 CMC or less. Like, that's tough. It's not hard. Like, there are decks that kind of do this already. What's the Sphinx? There's the Esper
Yennet.
Sphinx. Yeah, Yennet like kind of does this, right?
I was like, you just know someone at R&D was like, okay, we got an odd one and an even one. Okay, the odd one is the Dimir and the even one is Rakdos, so that makes sense, right? I was like, oh, wait a minute, Yennet is the odd one. Yennet cares about odds, so surely we shouldn't allow the odd one to go in the Yennet deck. Surely we should make it so Yennet does not get to play with the thing that cares about odd. And it's like, yep, thanks Wizards for making sure Obosh can't go with Yennet.
They probably did do that on purpose, because otherwise every Yennet deck would run whichever Garuda or whatever one it was, right?
Great.
No, that's not great.
What's the problem? Why is that not great?
Because that's a commander deck that like comes with a companion every single time you play it, basically.
Well, no, because the companion is the extra thing.
No, I know, but like, so
Yennet doesn't get a companion.
Anyone running Yennet will also run that companion
if it was allowed.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like Lutri, and it's like there's no reason why this deck would not ever run this companion. It's just free, basically.
I mean, sure, but then we're back to like mana rocks, right? Because now you can't do signets again. Like, it's not entirely free. It wouldn't be. It wouldn't be.
It's still a restriction,
nothing.
And there is no actual restriction around Yennet. I mean, maybe they didn't do it on purpose and just didn't think about it.
It frustrates me. It frustrates me when it's so close. It's so close.
Yeah. Anyways, well, so these guys, there's a pretty heavy deck building restriction here, but I think in Commander you can generally make up for this type of stuff. So yeah, I think that these are both kind of like, there's a pretty hefty price here, and I think, like I said, in some older formats, Garuda is going nuts right now, and it's just dominating. But in Commander, it's like, it's a nice ability, but I don't think it's broken by any stretch, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just
I think Obosh is better.
That's a tough one.
Just being able to like hit some kind of like doubling damage. Doubling damage is a powerful ability in Commander.
Yeah, anyways. I mean, I get why Obosh has got red in it, because like your lightning bolts deal 6 now, so like that's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Anyways, so these guys, again, heavy deck building cost, but are still pretty decent. What do you think about Umori?
Well, okay, so Umori the Collector is the Golgari, 2 Golgari, so 4 CMC total. It's an ooze. It's a 4/5. And the deck building restriction is that each non-land card in your starting deck shares a card type. The types are creature, artifact, but we can stop talking because your commander has to be a creature. Therefore, every other card has to be a creature. So there are no other. I mean, unless you're an artifact creature,
and then you could run a myriad of different artifacts and creatures. Yeah,
artifacts and creatures, but
they all have to be artifacts, or
they all have to be artifacts. They all have to be artifacts. Like they have to. You can't have any non-creature artifacts. Sorry, you can't have any. Right, like you can't have any creatures that aren't artifacts. So if you have an artifact creature as a commander,
you also need an artifact creature that's green-black.
Yeah, right. Like it's just never gonna.
That's just not a thing, I don't think. Right.
So you only get creatures now. Okay, so when Umori enters the battlefield, you choose a card type. You're gonna choose creatures. All your spells cost 1 less of that type. So all your creatures cost 1 less. That's great. But in the Golgari colors, I mean, there are options, but we get a real narrow spectrum now, because now like the ramp has to be on a creature, the removal has to be on creatures, the draw has to be on creatures. It's doable in
Mm-hmm.
Golgari, but that is we get no other options. I just feel like, man, like I already know like 20 cards that have to go in the deck because there's
Yeah.
your draw, like those are the
Mm-hmm.
only options. It's like, well, what else are you doing with the deck?
Yeah, that's why I put this one kind of lower on the like, is it viable? Because a deck that's entirely made up of creatures and lands, I mean, you're inherently at a pretty serious disadvantage there. No instance, you know, no artifacts. Like you said, all creature based ramp, which isn't terrible. You know, we're in green. We got mana rock. Sorry, we got mana dorks, and we've got some good. Like the ramp is not. I'm not worried about the ramp, to be honest. It's the like instant speed interaction that you really lose, and that's really bad. But you know, Golgari are the colors where, yeah, I think, anyways, if you were gonna build an all creature deck with a bunch of like ETB abilities, you know, this, and maybe ideally I would like to add white to it too or something, but we obviously can't here. I
Well,
would.
you can if your commander
That's right.
is
Like we can like
Abzan.
right. So yeah, okay. So that's something we can do. So like I think that like that is the deck that would run it, but I think it's a pretty serious hit you're taking. It's
Yeah.
doable. It's doable, and I kind of would like to see it happen. But anyways, and then finally we have probably the more broken for every other format, Luris of the Dream Den. It's the Orzhov one Orzhov 3/2 Cat Nightmare. This one is each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. It has lifelink, and then you can cast permanent spells that cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So we can run instants and sorceries that are over 2, which is nice.
Yep.
But every single permanent, every creature, every artifact, every enchantment, planeswalkers, we can't even. There's no 2 mana planeswalker, right? So we can't even.
Just the one red one, just Tybalt.
Just Tybalt, which we can't run unless I guess our commander's Rakdos.
Oh, Jace, little Jace.
Or Mardu, I mean. Yeah, so we're narrowed in here, and I'm not saying it's impossible. We obviously can do it. The cards exist. It's just that like, ooh, that's a pretty serious hit. And again, unless Luris is your commander, which we're not talking about that here. We're talking about being able to remove this card like a normal card. You can't really rely on this ability, right? Like someone exiles this, you're just there. There you go. Now you don't get to have the fun shenanigans of you know, playing stuff from your graveyard the same way you wanted to. So I think it's a powerful ability to be sure, but it's a tough one putting together 60-ish cards that meet this requirement.
It's tough. It's tough because like with any of these canyons, if you want to use their ability at all, and I think you've sort of ranked them in a way where like I think it's kind of the order I want their abilities. Like Luris's ability seems the most important to the deck. So you have to find ways to get creatures out of the graveyard or to protect creatures. You're going to want to run your available hexproofing spells so your opponents can't remove them as easily. Your little indestructible ways, like I mean, now hopefully all of that extra card real estate, hopefully that fits your commander's brewing restriction, because you got to have it if you care about these companions.
Yeah, totally. It's no wonder that this card is running wild in formats where you cast a lot of zero cost spells. You know, like that's where the strength of Luris lies. Whereas, you know, if something in Commander, we're looking more on the higher end of the spectrum, generally speaking. So it's kind of tough.
Going for $20 right now.
Again, not saying that the card itself is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying viability. So, I mean, I may be off on a few of these as far as viability goes. It feels like after talking about them, maybe Gigantha should be a little higher. Should be higher than Zerta, perhaps. Maybe one of the even odd ones is kind of up more above Karuga. But I think in general, this is a pretty close approximation. Just to close it out, Urian is not playable as a companion in Commander because our starting deck cannot be 20 cards over the minimum deck size, because there is no minimum deck size in Commander. We have to have 100 cards exactly. So that doesn't apply. But you still can run this card in your 99 or as your commander, which is great. And of course, we all know Lutri is fully banned because as a companion, it's just too easy to include because its restriction is the same restriction as every commander deck. So unfortunate that that had to happen, that we get one of them banned before before it even got released, but it did need to be banned, absolutely. And yeah, whatever, you can't play it. Don't know what we're talking about. Okay, well, there you go. So, Sean, what do you find, just to close this out? It's a lot for a vlog topic, but I did want to get our thoughts on them. What do you think as a mechanic? Where do you think this lies in Commander? How do you think, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think brewing restrictions are fun and creative, but I still think that we already have a card, a creature that we have access to for the whole game, provided we can always pay for its mana. It does get more expensive. I'm talking about the commander. And the companions, they don't come back. We don't like it. It would be different if there was a companion zone and I had to pay 2 extra for the companion every time. That's a whole different story. But if my opponents definitely know they're coming, so my opponents can assume I'm planning on using them and can hold removal for them. So as soon as they arrive, my opponents can remove them. And now I'm back to just running a regular commander deck, but I've got limited card selection when I brewed it. And also, I probably have a few card slots reserved for getting my companion back, which to me just feels like your companion's never your plan A, your commander is your plan A, right? Your companion should support your plan A. And if I'm spending all these resources to get my support going, like, well, what's my plan A then? Just make a better plan A.
Conversely, having your companion be your plan B is a pretty nice ability, and relying on the fact that you have a kind of a second commander to build any sort of combos around, or to support. You got other cards that were also going to support it. I mean, that to me adds another a lane that you can go into if your commander is out of reach or something, and you know that the cards in your deck specifically support your commander really well, and maybe your companion as well. That's kind of interesting to me. I like I said off the top, I don't think we're going to get to the point where these are going to be like so broken, but I don't think it's impossible that something happens where one of these people are just kind of like, look, especially CEDH, again, a whole other game, but like if they start running into problems with these things, like we're going to see, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibilities that we might see one or maybe even more of these get banned at some point.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to the possibility. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I guess I'm still stuck on the fact that the Dimir one can't go in the Yennet deck. And as we go, I mean, let's
and you
look
hate the
at
ability. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you also hate just the idea that these are not in the command zone.
I was leaving that out of the.
Well, I actually made this the topic today because I don't think we ever got your full thoughts on it, and I did want to get those as well.
Well, okay, so the companions don't exist anywhere. They're not in your deck, and as commander officially does not recognize anything outside your starting deck. This is why wish boards are a house rule. Wish boards are things people use, but officially, according to these strict commander rules, wish boards are empty. There are no sideboards. They're not allowed. They don't exist. So if a card says, you may cast this card from outside the game, prior to that, there are cards that have that text on it that we cannot use because they have no function. And here Wizards does and prints cards that say, oh, you can cast these from outside the game. And it's in my mind, I'm like, well, but where is it? Like, because I do have the card in my deck box. And you're telling me that like Zerta is allowed to come into the game, but if I cast this wish card, this other spell's not allowed to come into the game because they were both in the same place. Like they both existed. Like you have to do one or the other. I don't think it's reasonable. I mean, do whatever you want. It's your game. You can, the people who make the rules get to make the rules. I just think it's Like, what would be the harm to just say, like, for companions to exist, we must now acknowledge that there is a sideboard. So from moving forward, your companions have to live in your sideboard. The commander sideboard is max 5 cards. Even you don't even have to make it 15 if you're worried about people doing too much with it. But now at least give us wish cards. If you're gonna let us break this fundamental zone of outside the game, give us wish cards. Just let us have them.
Yeah, I personally don't understand why they couldn't just always make them exist in the command zone, but just not have the commander rule apply to them. Maybe that's a what's it called? Like a characteristic of the command zone in the game commander. So maybe that's why, because then you would be able to keep casting or something. I don't know.
I don't know, but I would wager
go back to the command zone, right?
I would wager, though, without looking at it, I haven't researched this, that is a characteristic of your commander. Right. The commander carries that ability to come back to the command zone and be recast. This companion, by virtue of not being your commander, wouldn't have access to that. They've used the command zone before. Yeah. Again, it was conspiracy, but the conspiracies started in the command zone because at the time they realized nothing exists. Like, it has to be somewhere.
It's just that, like in other games that use the command zone, like Oathbreaker, for example, like the things in the command zone, also the commander like rule applies to them as well. So that's why I was thinking maybe it's a characteristic of anything that starts in the command zone. But who knows?
I mean, Oathbreaker is like a homemade format. Like, there's no official.
We should reach out and we should get someone on the show. We should ask them about it from Wizards and just have a chat about it. It's been a long time since we've had someone on the show, so why not do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have to stop there.
I'll have to really like rein it in.
Yes, rein it in. Yeah, but we'll have to sort of cut it off there because there's a lot of discussion. It's tough to say right now because again we haven't played with these cards yet. But I think though overall I will say this in parting that I think that the multiplayer aspect of Commander is going to mitigate this power level enough. I think it's going to be okay. I think we're going to be fine in Commander. The other formats, I don't know about that. It looks like there's some madness happening. So anyways, that's there you go. I'd really like to hear what people are thinking about Companion, specifically related to Commander, specifically related to this discussion that we had. So if you're watching the video, hit us up in the comments, let us know. And if you're listening audio, please shoot us a tweet, or if you're in our Discord server, if you're already a patron, get at us there as well. Great. So that's it for the vlog this week. So we'll see everyone next time here on YouTube. See you later.
Bye. Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.